Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Well, that's it. Hello, everybody. Hi, how you doing? It is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. I'm out of time for getting ready for the show, and now we're in it. That's it. We're back. It is Wednesday, and of course you know what that means, which is fine. I guess that means I can leave. You all already know what the day means. It's Wednesday. Greg Dworkin is back. There's been a special election. ICE continues to occupy Minneapolis, despite the fact that Greg Bovino has been sent home. That's always good news, except for his family, I guess. But, you know, what can I tell you? He's got to learn to live with those guys. That's all there is to it. Lots of news from everywhere. All sorts of things happening all over the country. I guess and everybody now in the guessing game. We should all go to the betting sites and try to bet on which city will be occupied by ICE next. It just won't happen with Greg Bovino, I guess, which is a good thing. His job was to become a lightning rod, a very small lightning rod, however, and he did perform that task beautifully, but I don't know. In Trump world, you can do no good. It doesn't really matter. Eventually, Trump gets tired of you, and we don't even really know who's calling the shots at this point. Anyway, lots of theories floating around. Of course, Stephen Miller has outsized influence. I mean, everything is outside influence where Bovino is concerned, but Stephen Miller is no, giant either, as it turns out. But, undue influence from Miller running the show in Trump's coma. Other theories, of course, that it's just his TV that runs the country, and that, as always, if you can get on Fox News at the right time, when he's listening, you can change the direction of the country. Another theory floating out there, I guess we'll get this one out of the way because it's idle chatter. Maybe there's something to it, maybe not, I don't know. But Melania, the film, Melania, the wife, has been all wrapped up in the launch, I guess it was shoved out the window anyway, of Melania, the film, the Vanity Project, the biopic, I guess. Did they say biopic? That was, I don't know, it was sold essentially to the highest bidder as a vehicle for bribing Trump and getting in his good graces. And I think, I forget who even paid the bill. Maybe Netflix finally put the thing out and they paid like $40 million in, I guess, usage rights or to buy the film. And I guess that went directly to the Trumps. And they paid another $40 million to promote the thing. They haven't sold a single ticket. Who would go? I don't know. I mean, although it is a relevant story, she is an immigrant, and maybe we finally get to the bottom of her immigration story in this film. I don't think so. Anyway, the theory is this. Melania is furious that all of the attention that I guess she believed would be focused on her film and her budding film career. Is she in the movie? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It promotes her. And all of that attention has been diverted by murdering Americans in the streets, which is so stupid. I can't believe it. They should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, but apparently they're not, and that makes her mad. And Michael Wolff's theory, he's a gossip columnist in some sense, thinks of himself as a Trump whisperer. He believes the story is that Melania has got Trump's ear, not the assassin. He didn't get it, but the Melania's got his ear and is, I guess, screaming her head off at him. And just to keep her quiet, and this doesn't really sound like a real theory or anything, he's reshuffled things. But as dumb as that theory is, I have to say, before we get around to bringing Greg Dworkin in, and it's very important that we do very soon, but I have to get the dumb stuff out of the way first. There is a real news sort of edge to that. I guess you could segue into this. The traditional media, I don't really know, where have they been the last couple of weeks? They just the other day were talking about liars and the lies and the lying liars who tell them, right? Liar, we all know. We were very excited to see that appearing on the air and in print. And now they're sort of buying into this. Well, Bovino's out, and it looks like they might even force Kristi Noem out. And Trump has changed his tone. Today is the day he finally became president. He's pivoting. They're using all the the language that PR operations use to try to say that, oh, well, we've changed, we've understood, we've heard the message. We're going to kill people in a different city, I guess, is the pivot. And we ought not to let anybody get away with it. Don't lose the progress you guys have made in calling out the lies. That would be my message. And it would probably be Greg Dworkin's message if I were to introduce him on the show. And I think it's probably about time that we do. And we might as well don't waste any time with the fanfare, right? Let's get to it, Greg. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I love that fanfare of all of them.
Yeah, I know. It's your favorite.
It's my favorite.
It's a good day
it's
for that.
Short. Hey, you know what else is
the
short?
Intro
Greg
was
Bavino.
not.
Hey, you know what else is short stories about Greg Bavino. Look, I know they're apocryphal, but they're important. You use
they're
the word biopic, which is the correct pronunciation. I like to call them biopics because it rhymes with myopic.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
That's
like,
and that's
wrong
exactly
about this?
what it is. But there's this apocryphal story going around about Greg Bavino showing up in an airport.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bavino in an
Apocryphal
airport.
Now. Right? I think that was a movie, Stanley Kubrick or something. So he's in the airport, and a reporter comes up and says to him, well, how do you feel about getting fired from ICE? And he says, I'm not happy. And somebody in the crowd yells out, yeah, which one of them are you? Referring, of course, to the Seven Dwarfs. And it may or may not be funny to you. It's a question of what kind of humor you find enjoyable. Not. But that's not the point. The point is that he was intending, Greg Bavino was, to instill fear in everybody in the country. And in fact, what he's doing is instilling ridicule, which is deserved.
Yeah.
And so that's, in a nutshell, how all of this is playing.
And that's where he lives as well.
Nutshell. Yeah, he's really small. He lived in a shoe, but, they evicted him, so now he lives in a nutshell. But he's a really small guy.
Pumpkin shell, whatever.
Entirely possible. Anyway, the topic of my pundit roundup today, the title was Killing People Isn't Good Politics. I think that's something we need to talk about.
That's a good title. I should write a book.
So, as examples, Axios today. A number of these stories,
Axios body
including
spray.
one I didn't even include, by Mark Caputo, which we're going to do next. But as examples, Axios is all in today with 3 separate front-page stories, including Republicans turn on Noem and demand her resignation.
Gnome.
Meanwhile, she says, I did everything that Stephen Miller told me to. Don't blame me.
Yeah, but I have to clarify. Republicans turn on Noem. That's not a Bavino story.
Yeah.
It's NOEM, everybody.
Right. Not GNOME. And they're also not doing trolls. Right? They're not doing anything else from Iceland.
Yeah. Okay.
Minneapolis killings cut short America's post-election apathy.
Short. That's also not him.
Trump puts Republicans in a tough spot on gun rights. I want to get to that because he's really upset the Second Amendment people. Then there's Mediaite saying Noem says, everything I've done has been directed by Trump and Stephen Miller.
Yeah.
New York Times saying, as Minneapolis rages, legislators move to restrict ICE in their states.
All right. Good luck.
And then this good one from the New York Times. Latinos for Trump co-founder warns immigration will cost GOP the midterms.
Yes. I don't know. I mean,
also,
I think she's right for once.
What goes around comes around, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. Well, I mean, Latinos for Trump probably shouldn't be trusted about much of anything. But if she's only talking about herself, I'm not going to show up for you. All right. I guess
she says she was dumbfounded.
Well,
I can't believe they tried to portray this
anyway.
guy as a domestic terrorist. Remember, this is a white dude with a permit to carry.
Yes.
That's exactly everybody that, Stephen Miller was trying to elevate as...
He was a liberal.
As the Ubermensch,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he didn't like Stephen Miller, and he had a gun, so that's bad.
Well, the Trump response isn't the usual look over there, squirrel. It's genuine panic about the firestorm, but no change of policy yet. So they can get rid of Noem. Maybe they will. It won't matter until they get rid of Stephen Miller. So everybody just needs to understand that, and I think people do. But the scoop by Mark Caputo is the blame game erupts over Trump's team's false claim of Alex Preddy, the guy who was shot in Minnesota, sought a massacre.
Yes.
And this article
directly
points the finger at Stephen Miller.
That's definitely his kind of line.
All of it, the whole entire response domestic terrorist. He was trying to kill people. Kristi Noem said the quiet part out loud. But the fact is, all of this is coming from Stephen Miller, and it's failing.
Well, I guess the quiet part was that it's coming from Stephen Miller.
Yeah, that's the quiet part.
I see. Okay, because the
that
quiet
Stephen
part...
Miller was directing it. She wasn't supposed to say that out loud.
All right. Yes, right. That's the stage directions. And then she said, wave and smile, which was weird. But yes, several people said that. Bovino said it was clearly a talking point that was distributed. The word massacre and maximum damage came up in 3, 4, 5 different Republican statements.
And if you're a process person, here's the weird part. Mark Caputa points out, Miller's power extends to de facto oversight of Kristi Noem, but she's a cabinet secretary and technically outranks him.
Yeah, he's not actually a thing.
Yeah.
He's got a title and all, but it's not somebody who's in control of, normally in a normal White House, in control of anything, anybody. I'm sure they got a little staff, but certainly not cabinet secretaries. And she's...
So now Stephen Miller's saying, well, the problem was that Customs and Border Patrol, remember, I've told you, CBP is more violent than ICE, and ICE is violent enough. In fact, the head of ICE isn't allowed in Minnesota.
Oh.
That's actually true. The guy who runs ICE was banned from going to Minnesota by the White House.
Well, that's probably in response to the fact that he has been summoned to testify in person in Minnesota on Friday. They're probably saying, all right, well, you're forbidden from going. Yeah. And then, I don't know, I guess we'll have a fight.
But you also, given that you're ICE, you can't even go and see what's going on.
Well, what do you care? Just collect your paycheck and shut up.
So, anyway, Miller is saying that the Minnesota operation happened because Customs and Border Protection, CBP, didn't follow protocol. We sent all those extra people there because we want them to be a barrier between them and the people they're arresting to protect them. Of course, if you're between the person trying to do the arrest and the people who's being arrested, you can't get to them. So none of that makes any sense.
No, Well, yeah, I mean, they need to widen their scope of who they mean by the ones being arrested.
So when the White House says that Noem's job is safe, I just wonder if that's like George Steinbrenner saying Billy Martin's fine. Yeah,
you have my full confidence. I'm giving you a seat next to the window so you can people watch, that kind of thing.
Right.
You're 17 stories above the people, but, eventually you'll see them.
Right. Remember, Axios is sort of a Trump-leaning kind of place, so that's why it's so interesting to see some of this stuff. Minneapolis killings cut short America's post-election apathy, and they point out American public opinion famously behaves like a thermostat, rising and falling in response to perceived excess by one side or the other. 2020, George Floyd. 2024, backlash to woke excesses. That's really not true. Trump won on the economy, not woke excesses. That's just language they use that Axios adopts. But politics changed slowly, then sharply, as immigration enforcement became increasingly visible, indiscriminate, and lethal. Okay. And the outrage over Alex Preddy's shooting captures how dramatic opinion has grown. They have 60 CEOs of Minnesota's largest companies publicly condemning the shooting. Half of Americans say they have little confidence in ICE. Anti-ICE posts have exploded across social media. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's note to staff, reported by the New York Times, shows how difficult it is for even Trump-aligned industries to sit out the moment. Altman praised Trump as a very strong leader, but said nonetheless, what's happening with ICE is going too far. I mean, that's the stuff
too far.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a question of who's saying it.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be saying that.
Right. This is Puck, which is a news outlet.
Yes,
Puck.
right.
How puckish. Is Trump sick of winning? Amid his blustering threats over Greenland and the ICE crackdown at home, only 33% of voters now say America's on the right track. Trump's worst result since he returned to the White House last year. This is Echelon Insights poll. Again, this is a Republican poll, which is why it's so interesting. It isn't just a bunch of polite, bespectacled Norwegians resisting Trump's pleas for a Nobel. Americans don't think Trump deserves the honor. We had our polling partners, Echelon Insights, ask voters about that last week. Just as Trump was in Davos threatening European allies by 67 to 27, voters say Trump doesn't deserve it, with 56% saying definitely not. The only partisan group that says he does is Republicans. But while Trump versus Republicans say that, Republicans who align with the party rather than Trump say the opposite. 52-40, he doesn't deserve it.
Okay. Well, he doesn't.
Meanwhile, Nobel Peace Prize, Trump says we have a giant armada steaming toward Iran, and if they don't get rid of their nuclear weapons, we may attack them. Which confuses me because I thought that Israel had taken out everything. That's what they told us.
Or that we did, or somebody well did. I was sure of it. It's they were still a couple of years away. They were approaching it, but we bombed the crap out of their approach to it.
It's all buried under rubble. They can't possibly get to it.
I saw Top Gun Maverick, and that is a documentary. We got it. It's very complicated. They turn upside down.
But if you ever saw the movie Argo, you know that what happens is Iran winds up assigning 72 million children to put everything back together. And so they must have dug through the rubble and somehow found the nuclear weapons, because now Trump has to send an armada.
No, I can't believe it. Well, by the way, I think historically difficult to conquer Iran and Persia with an armada. There's a huge chunk of it that is not anywhere near where armadas go.
Yeah, but we got things that launch, so that's the whole point. Anyway,
right. Well, we don't even need to send the armada
driver of the discontent appears to be the growing outcry over ICE and Trump's deportation dragnet as the ugliest incidents overwhelm feeds every time we open an app. Echelon found that 56% of voters now oppose ICE enforcement efforts, 52% saying ICE is targeting people who are not a threat to public safety, and a 45% plurality saying that ICE raids make them feel less safe. Again, you have to contrast this back in the day with the Kent State shootings, which were horrible.
Yes.
And popular.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
They had 72% of the public or something like that supporting what happened. At least
that's incredible.
That's not what's going on here at all.
You don't even start with that.
Yeah. Indeed, it went downhill over time. But,
so believe me.
So did George W. Bush. This isn't starting in a good place. Indeed, I've been writing, says Peter Hamby, who's a very good journalist, for many months that Americans have been souring on ICE, with independent voters driving the downturn. Echelon found that a majority of independents, 52%, said ICE raids are making them feel less safe. Trump was elected as a law and order president, but these days the most crucial block of voters say his administration is putting them in harm's way. That is to say, independents. 58% of Americans now say the country's heading in the wrong direction, and 33% say the country's headed in the right. A new low for a second term. Wrong track, right track gap has widened by 5 points in 1 month. That's a big turn. It's St. Paul. It's no surprise the White House is now backpedaling on ICE so furiously. So they are noting that this is all like, I'm not ignoring it. I can't claim like Mike Johnson, I haven't seen it. You can't ask me about it. You're not allowed to ask me about anything I claim I haven't seen. Is a standard not working. They understand what's going on here. They know they're afraid, like the Trump for Latina people, that they're going to wind up losing Greenland, let alone the election.
Yes.
And they're not happy about any of it. It's not going the way they want. And, it's just, like, really weird.
What could be doing this?
Right.
Yes.
This is Reuters. They're out with a poll.
All right.
Yesterday, Trump's immigration approval drops to record low. Reuters Ipsos poll finds. Poll shows 58% say ICE crackdown has gone too far. This isn't Echelon Insights. This is Reuters. Trump's overall approval rating falls to 38, tied for lowest of his term. Republicans still have an edge of Democrats on immigration policy. That edge is like
really. It's. I mean, they. I guess they keep finding
Trump's
it, but
at 39.
it's an edge, but it's so. The edge is very low down there. Okay,
but
you're 4 points ahead
also
in the 30s.
Separate immigration policy from border policy, which a lot of polls don't.
Yes, although increasingly people are willing to let it bleed over.
People aren't pouring across the southern border. Okay, that's fixed. What about what's actually going on in Minnesota? We hate that. Well, what's more salient? What's happening in Minnesota?
Yeah. And I think it is. It's also bleeding over into immigration in general. When you ask that question and don't differentiate it, and more people are saying, "Well, actually, when you say immigration, I think of Minnesota, and that's weird." And wrong.
Because they're a southern border state, aren't they?
Sure.
I mean, sure.
The southernest.
So here's some other salient comments. This one is Connor Friedersdorf, who fancies himself a libertarian independent.
I don't care whose dwarf
but
he
often
is.
is Republican aligned. After making historic gains with minority voters in 2024, I predict that the MAGA coalition is going to lose ground with most non-white demographic groups for years, and deservedly so.
Well, they're
because of this dynamic, which is describing a physician whose mom was stopped and harassed in Texas at an outlet mall, demanding that she show her papers. I mean, that's just happening all over the country. Mike Madrid
get in line.
Notes a recent poll from The Economist. This is YouGov, generic ballot poll among Hispanics. Democrats 41, Republicans 23. That's an 18-point improvement. The last poll I did was Republicans plus 2. That's a 20-point turnaround.
Well.
Okay. Sarah Longwell says, we did a focus group last night of swing voters, Biden 2020, Trump 2024 voters, and there's not simply awareness of Alex Pretty killing, but genuine outrage. Many wanted Noem removed. Adam Cochran writes they don't realize what they've awoken. More on that probably after the break. The number of swing voters and the number of non-political people who were outraged and activated after this is something we've basically never seen in the modern political era. They tried to treat this like 70s Kent State situation. You can't run the old they deserved it playbook when everybody has the footage in their pocket.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't distributed the same way. It's funny to think of it now. Now, because we have it in our archival footage, everybody's got the Kent State footage in there. Although not the footage of the shooting. Yes, that's right. And the aftermath.
We had still photos back
that was
in the day,
highly
impactful.
impactful.
Not the same thing. Highly impactful, but nothing like a video.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, the giving the lie to the administration's line in real time, that's a different dynamic too.
Right. This is the Austin American Statesman. That is to say, the American Statesman, published in Austin. And it's an interesting author, a fellow named Jerry Patterson. And that name may not ring a bell, but he's the author of Texas Concealed Handgun Law.
Oh. All right. No, that's not familiar.
And he writes, I carry a handgun. Am I a domestic terrorist?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but that's not the point, really.
Oh.
it's a rhetorical question.
I see. Right. I'm not answering. Okay.
That gun in the photo is the 9mm handgun I carry at all times. I've carried it since 1996 when the Texas Concealed Handgun Law I authored as a Texas state senator took effect. If I brandish my handgun in the presence of a peace officer, I expect to get shot. If it remains untouched in my holster, I don't expect to get shot. So what happened?
Yeah, well,
it's a pretty simple concept here. The day after the shooting on social media, President Trump praised Saturday's violence, let our ICE patriots do their job. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said the victim came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation. We now know that that's not only not true, we know Stephen Miller directed her to say that. Border Control Commander Greg Bavino falsely claimed it was unlawful for protesters to bring a firearm to a demonstration, which is outraging this author.
Yeah, okay, good.
And that's the point. Should the vast number of Texans licensed to carry a handgun be concerned? If you're dealing with Texas peace officers, I think the answer is almost always no. Dealing with U.S. immigrations and customs enforcement or customs and border patrol, that's another matter. ICE is needed, but not this ICE. This ICE and this leadership, they need to go now.
All right. I'm glad to see it happening because the first couple of days, of course, everybody pointing out, where are these hypocritical lunatics over the guns? I thought they were, oh, well, all right, here they are. Okay.
Right here. They hate it.
It took a while.
Okay. Now, there was a special election last night.
Right,
Wednesday, and yesterday was Tuesday. And the one of note, because the other one didn't have anybody running against a Democrat. This one had somebody running against a Democrat, a fellow named Dan Walsh, who's run before, but he didn't do this badly. This is a Democrat farmer labor DFL candidate.
Okay.
Lugar Nikolai. And in a Harris plus 71 district.
Oh, okay.
Right? You expect her to win.
Yes.
You don't expect her to win 96-4.
No, I don't. So she couldn't possibly have.
Yeah. So
she did.
She had a 20-point overperformance starting from 71.
Right. I mean, please.
Can I just point out people in Minnesota and the Twin Cities area are kind of upset about what's going on here with the Republicans?
Well, this will be it's great. Inside the Republican, well, if the Republican caucus conference, was in town in Congress, this is what they would be chatting about at the booze fountain, not the water fountain. But they're not. But they are calling one another and having conference calls. We're getting killed. This is what's happening among Republicans facing the midterm elections. Please, this policy is death for us. I mean, it's death for Democrats, literally, but I'll have to find a new job, and that sucks. And in this economy, I don't want. So good. It's good, solid proof. It's panicking the Republicans. It ought to. I don't know how much solace they're finding in the press saying, well, they've pivoted. But, yeah, they're clearly very worried. 96-4. I know it was a Democratic district, but you saw the answer. It should be 75-25.
Right. So I sent you a picture just to mention that it happened when Ilhan Omar was giving a town hall. Right. Some dude in the front row jumps up, and he's holding a syringe with brown fluid in it.
Ew.
And tried to spray it at her, and he's, immediately tackled and thrown out. And Omar goes back to the podium and says, I am not leaving. That's what these fucking assholes want.
Hey.
I'm going to continue my speech.
All right. Well, she said it, and she meant it, too. All right. Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting that in the quote. I did hear her on the tape say, the one of those words, but I didn't see it all. But
well, she said both of those words in context, in that order. I'm just telling you.
It's context, everybody. It's nothing I can do about it. By the way, I have seen the video, and there is a moment. She doesn't get enough credit. There's a moment in which
she walks right to him.
She runs at him, lunges at him, and cocks a fist back. She's going to punch him and fight. There's an assassination attempt. Fight. Somebody else, of course, tackles him right away. She doesn't have to throw the punch. Probably good. She looked like she maybe broke her wrist on it. But she was going to fight. That's really something.
He's
I don't
a lot
know.
larger than she is.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are. Anyway, very brave.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott Anderson, your summary guy. Were you looking forward to an egalitarian democracy free of bigotry, misogyny, racism, and greed, where people of different appearances, belief, and heritage had a right to live without fear, and everyone could expect a basic level of health, stability, and safety throughout their life? Well, too bad. The plain fact is that we're heading in the wrong direction. And where we once had a voice in such things, increasingly we don't. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. However, if you're looking to join people who understand today's issues and can intelligently address the reality of today from your point of view, you can join us at Kagro in the morning. As you know, there aren't many of us out there, at least compared to them. We need to stick together, and by that I mean send us money. That is contributions to patreon.com, secure, reoccurring contributions. Those contributions keep this show on the air and us together. We've been through a lot together. The temporary loss of the presidency, we hope. The temporary loss of the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, we hope. Face it, we are pretty much all that we have left. Remember, we couldn't do it without you, and you shouldn't do it without us. We're in this together, so thanks.
All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. We left off, we were in Minneapolis. We're going back. Ilhan Omar, strangely assaulted and really making a good account of herself, getting ready to throw a punch.
I'm putting on a coat and my thermal underwear before I go back, but we're going back to
Minneapolis. Yeah, well, also you need a face shield because somebody may squirt you with something.
Yeah, well, it's weird. Chris Murphy, my senator, and others, but Chris Murphy in particular.
He is weird.
Well, he
I agree.
Articulated
in a good way.
What he's doing is trying to articulate to Republicans in the Senate what ICE needs to do in order to get Democratic votes to support DHS funding, which is relevant because we're talking shutdown here.
Yeah. On Friday evening, so we're 3 days.
Well, interestingly, though, and this is one of those process things.
Yes.
Apparently, the legislature is funded, but the judiciary and the executive is not.
Yeah, we would be in for a partial government shutdown. Some of the appropriations bills have been passed. Those that are passed, those departments get to stay open. One of those departments is them. The them who cast them votes have funded themselves.
So, in terms of withholding DHS, Murphy says that should be separated, and so did Chuck Schumer say that bill should be separated out from the others. We'll deal with that separately.
It's a mini
But in order to get our vote, because we'll vote for everything else, but in order to get our vote on that one, you've got to make reforms, including properly identifying who these people are. Remember, they're wearing masks, and they won't wear ID.
Who are these people?
And the speculation there is, first of all, Thune doesn't want to separate out ICE from everything else because he's not sure it'll pass.
Right.
He doesn't want to give Democrats leverage. And they're deathly afraid that if ICE has to properly identify themselves and not wear a mask, 75% of who they recruited will drop out.
Yes. Sure, absolutely.
Well, I'm thinking that's probably because these are all the January 6th pardon people who...
Yeah, Proud Boys, etc. Certainly a bunch of those in the mix. And by the way, it's interesting how difficult a road it's been to actually, to say you believe that and not be harangued about it by... I don't know, chin-stroking weirdos who say, well, actually, and you get well actually'd a lot on that one. But it's pretty, I don't know, it seems pretty clear. And
You're not getting well actually'd a lot on any of this stuff anymore.
Not anymore. Now it's becoming
look,
wisdom.
Those annoying boomer resistors who are right about everything, God damn it, they keep bothering me and saying they were right way before I was, but I'm right now, and that's what really matters.
It's been very interesting, and a lot of people will have to be, they will drop out. Some of them are January 6th, some of them are
the Esther Kleins of the world.
Some of the ICE people who, if they have to be identified, will drop out are members of the communities they are arresting and harassing. That's a selling point. I can speak Spanish.
That kind of thing.
And they very much want their neighbors not to know. They're hoping to take the cash and get away with it. And I think that's why they ship people around the country. Like if you are in your neighborhood, someone will recognize you even through the gator. But they move you to a different city. But it's also still very obvious from a lot of the videos. You can tell there's a little accented English coming through, and people yell at them. Shame on you deporting the rest of your community while you profit from it. I mean, they were planning on deporting you later.
Bonus for these arrests. That's where that comment comes from.
Yeah.
So this is a post on Daily Kos called "The First Person Report from Minneapolis," and the author says, I belong to a private Facebook group that's made up mainly of academics and retired academics because it's a private Facebook group, and because it's on Facebook, for both of those reasons, I can't verify this. Like, I'm not on Facebook, and even if I were, it's private.
Okay.
But he says, one of them posted the following. I thought it was very interesting. You might too. My oldest son responded to his college buddies who've reached out to him to ask if he's okay here in Minneapolis. He gave me permission to share, so that's where the comment comes from.
All right.
And he talks about the fact that, first of all, national news has covered the headlines, but it's worse here in terms of how it feels. And secondly, our learning thus far is that no one is coming to save you your city. You got to do things yourself. But the third point, which is the one I want to read, is I think the most important. And he says, third and most importantly, we're winning. Our rage has turned to resolve. We're getting stronger every day. The story is equally underreported outside the headlines about walls and the National Guard or ACLU lawsuits. We have thousands of people who have completed constitutional observation training in the past week. And the numbers grow with each day. We have thousands more average citizens who patrol the streets, coordinating anti-ICE intel in real time without fail. They can no longer freely operate in densely populated neighborhoods due to the dozens of people who come out of the woodwork to tell them in very impolite terms they're not welcome in our city. I would add that's despite the shootings. Every single person I know, no joke, is donating food, delivering groceries, contributing to GoFundMes, offering pro bono legal services, constitutional observations, etc. They organize around their schools and churches, their restaurants, even men's league hockey teams.
What?
The administration's led us to believe this surge is no end in sight. We're ready for it. We're organizing, and we will outlast this evil. And so feel free to share my thoughts. I just think it's important for people to understand that it's really rough on the folks in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
They're winning.
Yes, and they're taking encouragement from it as they should. All the craziest flailing going on the Republican side, including I think I saw Megyn Kelly being they ought to ban whistles, like whatever you're using to win, we're going to ban that, which is amazing given their gun stance. But
the NFL is really upset about that.
Right, they need those, and and the other like prevailing sentiment.
Lost the NFL,
exactly.
You know.
The other prevailing sentiment I see is people using the phrase that the Minneapolis situation and ICE situation in general is breaking containment. That is, that they are hearing from quarters of society who very often do their utmost to avoid involvement in politics. And they're saying, have you seen this Minnesota thing?
Yeah, these videos are everywhere. We talked about that, you know, how many people have seen these things.
Yeah.
Like we're talking 80% of the population. That means it makes it into, hey, I'm just calling on a sports issue, first time, long time. But did you see that Minnesota thing? It's everywhere.
They are. It's the water cooler chatter. It's in the chat groups like this guy was saying. The bowling leagues, it's Minnesota. Curling leagues, probably talking about it as well.
Ice fishing, societies, all of it.
Yeah. I mean, even if they just say, "Did you see the video?" Yup. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that's the video they're talking about.
Well, this is from NBC News, so I think it's also relevant. And it's stuff that we've talked about before on the show. I'm no expert on it. It's just that we've talked so often about it. It doesn't feel foreign to me anymore.
Yes.
Senate Democrat, that doesn't make me an expert. It just feels comfortable to talk about it. Senate Democrats plot strategy as DHS standoff deepens heading into shutdown week. Again, partial shutdown, as you pointed out. Two sources who were on a Democratic caucus strategy call Sunday said Minority Leader Chuck Schumer told the group the message must be to restrain, reform, and restrict ICE.
Yes. I know where everybody wants the other words, but yes.
Well, but that everybody wants the other words. Look, this happens every single time something like this happens in this Trump era.
And that's not great.
We don't have the votes to get whatever it is you want, whoever you are, and whatever it is you want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you want. We can't have it. There's no votes.
We can't have it. We're in the minority.
No, I see what you mean.
We don't have the votes. So you're going to criticize Democrats for being not forceful enough or somehow not yelling at the Republican colleagues in the Senate enough. You name it.
There's a theory
none of
for
what you're
it.
Suggesting is going to work.
No.
But right now, DHS doesn't have the 60 votes it needs.
That's true. As I was saying, there's the theory for, well, you ought to be shouting this so that you can compromise on that. Don't start with that and then end up compromising elsewhere.
That's like the theory that,
look,
if you don't speak a foreign language, just say it in English but louder.
Maybe. And I want to point out, I read something out the other day. Which day was it? I don't know. Might have been Monday. But Rosa DeLauro, who's the ranking minority member in the House Appropriations Committee, points out there was $75 billion, I think bazillion actually, dollars in what we're unfortunately stuck with the big beautiful bill thing. There's all sorts of dumb nicknames for it.
Yes, she has pointed this out. Don't ask to do what we can't do.
It's already there, and so if they were to do what you want, let's say they did everything you wanted, and we vote to zero out funding for ICE. It doesn't stop ICE right now. That doesn't mean, but on the other hand, you should probably use that to your advantage and say, yeah, we're voting to zero out ICE, but it doesn't matter because they got $75 billion. We weren't going to. But symbolically speaking, I'm going to stop the rest of the flow of the money. Sure, I'm not going to actually appropriate it now.
Well, this is an interesting dynamic, though, that normally doesn't come into play. Okay, Republicans could separate out the DHS bill from everything else, pass everything else, and just deal with this.
By unanimous consent, they could.
They won't do that because they don't think they could pass it. But that allows Democrats to say, we're not shutting the government down. You are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have this game all the time, but it's a good one, and that's absolutely right. The Republicans who control floor procedure decided that there are, I think, 6 appropriations bills they just lumped into one. They do this all the time. You've heard the term mini bus before, a mini omnibus. It's not every single bill, but whatever. So they lumped the 6 of them together. All it would take, of course, is to say, well, a unanimous consent request would probably do it in the Senate, but you just say, instead of lumping them together, we are going to just keep them separate and pass them one at a time, and 5 of the 6 would pass in 10 minutes if you just asked.
Right, and then Schumer goes on to say it's the appalling murders of Renee Good and Alex Priddy that's holding everything up, and we won't allow the current DHS funding bill to move forward. Of course he will. I mean, don't get mad at him because he said they're not going to allow it, and then a week later you allowed it. Well, that's, you don't keep the government shut down forever. You can't have what you want. You want Republicans to admit they were wrong and then go along with Democratic priorities. As long as they have more votes than you, ain't happening.
Yeah, well, right. That does stand in the way. And, of course, the bottom line effectiveness of it is highly questionable just because of the other bill having lavished them with money. But, we'll see what there are some concessions being won. There were some Republicans willing to throw in a couple of they're pretty weak and they're not what's necessary. But again, we don't control things, but maybe we're about to, given that 70-point Harris districts are turning into 90-point Harris districts.
Yeah, what's interesting to me in that regard are people like Laura Gillen and Tom Swazi, who are on Long Island in Nassau County, saying things like, you know what, we were wrong. Maybe we need to abolish ICE.
Yeah. I mean, great.
That's just phenomenal.
It gives us some room. You should use it. You should take it. You should squeeze what you can out of them. Eventually, this thing goes forward.
It's like Rand Paul saying, maybe we need the government to do more.
Yeah. It's a little unusual, to say the least. But we'll see what kind of a compromise. I know nobody likes the word, and it's not the time for it, but eventually something comes out.
You have to compromise when they have more votes than we do.
Yeah.
I can't hammer that point home often enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the time for the word.
This point is a nail, and I'm going to keep mentioning it because people are going to be unhappy. But you know what? We still don't have the votes. Not till November, and that's why you have to gear up until November. November changes everything. So if you complain about it, I want to see you working on November elections.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd rather not work, so I'm going to stop complaining.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you something to not complain about.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Virginia shows Democrats a real path forward. I told you about the fact that Abigail Spanberger is redoing all of Glenn Youngkin's horrible college appointments.
Yes. Right. True. Good news.
I forget what they're called. Everybody,
Board
all these
of visitors on this
names.
one?
Yeah. Visitors.
I don't know why they're visiting, but all right.
UVA, but also George Mason and VMI, other places. But Max Burns has a story about this in the Daily Kos that doesn't even mention the college stuff.
Huh. Well, what does he mention?
Well, abortion. Democrats' abortion amendment does more to protect access to abortion services across Virginia. That's moving forward.
Oh, okay.
Voting rights. She's on the verge of achieving another of Democrats' long-wished legislative goals, returning the right to vote to felons who complete their sentences.
Yes, okay. I think we're the last one.
Same-sex couples are on the verge of historic protections thanks to a multi-year Democratic push to write marriage equality into the state constitution. Redistricting, of course, we heard about that.
Yeah. There's a judge meddling on that.
Finish the sentence. Louise,
oh no. Shoot.
Lucas?
You know what? I can't now you've said it.
She
I finished it. Now I'm blanking out. Great.
Democrats
Thanks a lot.
by 10-1.
Yeah.
Affordable Virginia agenda. Spanberger's doing all of this as governor. It
Lucas
just highlights
correct.
how bad Virginia was under Youngkin, who's supposedly a moderate but wasn't.
Yeah, stupid vest.
And so Spanberger's undoing all of that.
Good.
My point, how did she do this? She won the election. You could scream about this all you want to. You couldn't get it done until Democrats won the election.
That is correct. We did have to do that. And we did do that.
So if you don't like what Schumer is doing, elect more Democrats. And if you think that that's the kind of things that boomers say, well, duh.
Yeah. Well, what can I tell you? That's how it works.
Not my first rodeo. Been around a while. This is what you have to do.
Yeah. Right. Sorry. We kind of have seen this story before. And, again, if you think
You're
it'll
just
work.
saying it. No, we're not just saying it. Look at what's happening in Virginia.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Well, that's true. Governance makes a huge difference, and it would not have happened under Winsome Earl Sears. We'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, process can make a huge difference, but governance absolutely makes a huge difference.
Process.
And when you have people who are governing the right way and know how to do it, you put that together, it's powerful. That's Abigail Spanberger. She's going to do great
I missed the
things.
abortion story entirely. I mean, it's interesting times, so sometimes you miss things. But I'm glad that got pointed out. She's doing an awful lot, undoing Youngkin's damage to the Commonwealth. And I'm curious to see what else will happen. And I mean,
I'm old enough to remember when the macaca guy was the governor.
That's right. George Allen.
That state has changed.
It has. My local neighborhood has changed. We were a red district, and now we're pretty solidly blue. That's Loudoun County. That's a big difference. It's good to see, and it's good to see this kind of start from the Spanberger administration. Because remember, I mean, Abigail Spanberger on this show has, we've considered her for a number of years. She was famously, I'm middle of the road. I'm a centrist. Don't go too far with so it was easy to think of her as occupying this, blah position. And I don't mean the way George Allen or Rick Santorum says blah either. But this just sort of milquetoast, middle of the roadism, but I think at least at the time when she sort of adopted that stance, that was thought to be key to her electoral success and her ability to run for governor. I don't know that it was necessary this time, but we didn't know what events would bring us. Anyway, she's obviously positioned herself well and has succeeded in winning the governor's mansion. And look what she's doing with it right off the bat. Great. Although you might very well argue that those are, in fact, centrist positions.
90% perspiration and 10% inspiration.
Okay.
Sometimes you make your own luck and all of those things.
Yeah.
So that also reminds
Good
me
point.
of my own district. That's a CT5,
Okay.
which used to be Democratic under Jim Maloney when we had 6. But then 6 and 5 were merged, and Maloney was forced to run against Republican odious Nancy Johnson. That's her designation.
Yeah.
Nancy Johnson, odious Connecticut. And Chris Murphy defeated her. She beat Maloney, so this became a red district. But Chris Murphy was elected in 2006, and he had 56% of the vote.
Indeed.
Defeating Johnson by 22,000 votes, 35 of the district's 41 cities and towns. We have like a gazillion cities and towns here in Connecticut. So, you can see red go to blue in front of your eyes. And when you start having the votes, all of a sudden the politics goes along with it, and that's just the way it goes. So once again, my friends, if you don't have the votes in Congress, there's only so much you can do. So you got to cut them a little slack. They'll do things that I don't approve of. They'll do things that you don't approve of. And they will screw things up and not play the perfect hand because everybody's human. But for the most part, give them more votes, and all of a sudden their politics will become much better. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
How did Spanberger all of a sudden turn out to be a political genius? Because, like, the number of votes she got, plus when a 71-point Harris district goes 91, things happen to strengthen your hand, and all of a sudden you look like a genius.
Yes, and we'll also point out that also she's accompanied into office by a very aggressive Democratic caucus in the legislature who preceded her.
Louise Lucas.
Yeah, and have been fighting valiantly to, even with a very narrow majority, saying, this is the way it goes now. We were told, well, if you give us the majority, we'll do the opposite. And people were concerned about that because there has been a history of handing over that majority and watching Democrats say, well, now we're worried about the next election. So, we're going to tack to the center. And there's some logic to that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in Virginia, they actually said, no, you've handed us the majority. This is what we're going to do with it. We're going to strong arm our way to what we want, just the way Republicans strong arm their way to what they want. Now we're looking at a redistricting on the congressional level to match the push to redistrict red states. a very aggressive 10-1
map. See, the whole point there is if you want to keep winning, you act without overreacting. Well, what's the definition of overreacting? Well, actually, that depends on the other side.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, then we don't know. But yes, they're pushing very hard. By the way, a little bit of judicial interference. I think they found a federal judge down in that red tail where the one Republican district is, to stand in the way of this and say, I'm going to block your plan to move forward with a 10-1 map. We'll see whether it lasts. It's not particularly good grounds for it. So
meanwhile, Washington, but it's not going to happen right away. So this has time to play out. The Washington Post, which is firing half of its staff. Yeah. And AI I think given its Trump-leaning ownership, is fair to at least characterize them as centrist, if not worse. Here's their headlines right now on their front page. The rise and fall of Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bavino. A year ago, he was the little-known head of the Border Patrol in California. He rose quickly to become the face of the president's immigration policy. He's out now. We told the Bavino joke already. Ilhan Omar attacked during town hall meeting in Minneapolis. And again, more poignant and more relevant because it's in Minneapolis. Ecuador files formal diplomatic protest after ICE tries to enter consulate in Minneapolis.
Yeah, that ain't good.
These guys are terrible. They're doing everything wrong.
Yeah, that's a really amazing one. Ecuador, of course, filing a formal protest, as they should, under international law.
That's just 3 of the headlines. Let me give you the next 3.
Okay.
Trump is dealing with an immigration mess of his own making, says Dan Balls.
Melania.
Alex Pretty's killing 2 weeks after Renee Good's death marks a crisis moment for the president's immigration policy, followed by voter support for Trump's immigration strategies eroding, and the GOP knows it, followed by clamor is growing in Europe to boycott North American World Cup.
Oh, yes. How
the administration lost the fight to frame the Minnesota shooting. They're losing.
Right. I'm sorry.
We're winning.
That's right.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Not quite exactly good day, right. But we're looking for it. Yes. So by the way, yes, right. The World Cup set to go forward like this year, and that's going to involve bringing a whole bunch of very often quite brown soccer teams into this country who are people from other countries, and they're a little worried
Trump
about whether or not,
because ICE will do your security for you.
I guess so. So right, that's actually happening. That leads us to another story, but they're all kind of related, right? In the middle of all this, they'll know how to behave. They'll lay off the soccer teams, right? Because it's an international event and it's a peaceful sports festival, and even Trump likes sports, even if he hates soccer, probably, because they don't punch people enough or whatever it is. But surely they'll know to back off. Well, they didn't know to back off of the Ecuadorian consulate because they saw a brown person enter it and they thought, kick the door in and go in there. I've seen the video. Kudos to the staff there, although those consulates and embassy staff are actually trained, what to do if violent militia thugs try to kick their way in and take over the consulate. Well, we deal with that. And they kicked them right back out. But at the same time, new story floated yesterday. I don't know where the inspiration for this comes from, but apparently ICE is going to accompany the U.S. Olympic team to the Winter Olympics in Milan, as extra security or something. No one can explain to me what would be the role of ICE in this. And the Italians are going crazy. They're very demonstrative people. Anyway, so there's a lot of hand gesturing going on, right? And eating, I think. But they're very upset about this, and they should be. And there's no evidence whatsoever that you can't take ICE anywhere. They can't behave themselves in the United States, and they can't help but apparently violate diplomatic protocols here in the U.S. I don't think they're going to know how to handle themselves in Italy. I have no idea where that idea came from. It's weird. They're not a Praetorian guard of elite soldiers that you send to protect anybody. They're idiots recruited off the street. So, the idea of they're really going to love that over there. They're sending us their January 6thers for security at the Olympics. Great. We're going to have an Atlanta bombing. Fantastic. Right. Can't wait for it.
So let's turn to the New York Times for their headlines in the few minutes we have remaining. Opinion.
We have a few.
Jamel Boy, Minneapolis may be Trump's Gettysburg. And then the regular headlines is Minneapolis rages, legislators move to restrict ICE in their states. What's the difference between action and overreaction? It depends on the other side. Miller suggests federal agents may have diverted from protocol before pretty shooting. Sure. He's just covering his ass. Republicans shift tone after killings, criticizing Trump's immigration push. Yeah, by saying that Trump is getting bad advice. But that's Miller, so that's not good for him. Noem's handling a shooting, put her in Trump's penalty box, but just briefly. Noem doesn't matter, folks. She's not directing any of this anyway.
It will be fun to see her go.
She's just a cosplay person on TV, whether she stays or not. Miller's the key.
What
At the center of the ICE uproar, a familiar figure, Corey Lewandowski.
Yeah, there he is.
Well, Greg Bovino isn't there anymore, and Lewandowski may not be there forever. DHS review does not say pretty brandish gun, as Noem claimed.
Yeah.
All of this happening.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
Yes.
Jerome Powell's still there.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
And we still haven't had the ruling on tariffs. So a lot of stuff still happening.
That too, yeah. We're being distracted by too many other things.
I just thought I'd mention it since time is running out.
Yes, almost. Well, we have an extra minute because the top of the hour break is only 1 minute. So
yeah.
All right. That is fine. And I'll tell you what, I have some instructions for you before we get to I haven't even gotten to the music, but I promised you that this was going to be in the offing. So, Greg, we bid you adieu with...
Go away and come back tomorrow.
Pay attention to that man behind the curtain.
Right. Please don't. But yes, I told you I was going to borrow that, and we'll be using that. And then tomorrow being Thursday, of course, we will hear from you again. We're almost at the music stage of the game here, but not quite. All right. I think that, there's no way to sum up all the things that happened. I'm sure we've missed something. We'll spend the next hour.
There's a way. I just found a way.
We did.
Yeah, this is a graphic that just appeared on Fox News.
It's
so
a graphic.
Read it for you. It's a YouGov survey. Greatest threat to world peace. German survey ranks world leaders. President Trump at 41%. Greatest threat. Kim Jong-un 17, Khamenei 8, Putin 8, and Xi Jinping 7.
Really? It's a tight competition. Okay. Well, the Germans, for once, are worried about being a threat to international world peace.
Well,
being
they know
someone
from
else.
world peace.
Yeah, that's
they
right.
Know from threats.
That's true. And of course...
Tom Lear likes to say we taught them a lesson in 1918. They've hardly bothered us since then.
Yeah. Oh, and we'll have to, at some point, discuss the pushback that I guess right-wing folks are trying to drum up against Tim Walz for actually describing the situation accurately there. We'll talk about that later.
Nobody's paying attention to him. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Hopefully everything's working just fine. I got a note from Scott here, so we'll pass the note on to Justice. I guess we had our first break was mistimed somehow, but the second break appears to have worked, and that's good because I wanted it to go well with my Wizard of Oz quote. Although the music wasn't playing, I was pretty sure that was going to come through. So it only works once a week.
Go away and come back tomorrow.
I could play that for him on Thursday, but he's still not going to come back on a Friday. So anyway, movie quotes are a big thing around here. That's half the show. All right. So thanks for the note. I'll leave the message here so that I try and remember to get through to Justice. I have a lot of business that I have to take care of as between, in the back end, the back office of the show. All right. So, man, there's a lot. We did mention, well, maybe it got on the air because we were talking about it during the break and we came back mistimed, but one of the things I thought I didn't get onto the air or didn't mean to until later is that this is the second, the assault on Ilhan Omar as the second assault on Democratic members of Congress in the last, did it all happen within 24 hours? Maybe. The other assault happened in, it's a little odd, assaulting Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis at a town hall versus assaulting Maxwell Frost of New York, but the assault didn't happen in New York, and it happened at in a venue that's a little bit like ooh la la, really. Assaulted at a party at a bar at the Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, which, like, okay, I mean, you're on recess, but anyway, that's a side story. The actual story here is more along the lines of, hey, you can't just break into a place, yell at a Democratic member of Congress, and then punch him in the face and not have anybody take note. Except, of course, if we don't take note. Well, it was really not up to us to decide whether or not nobody takes note. Anyway, we'll take note because Andrew Solander took note at Axios and elsewhere. I just happened to have the Axios one handy, and, they spit it out real fast about what happened, but there's plenty of other coverage. But yeah, the story is this, the way Axios puts it, a 28-year-old man has been charged with multiple felony counts for allegedly assaulting Representative Maxwell Frost, who's not that much older himself. Is he older? How old is Maxwell Frost? I'm just sort of curious about that, because isn't he an awfully young guy? I mean, nothing awful about being young, but let's click on these things here. Did they give his age? Yeah, he's age 29. So, it was a bar fight, but it was a targeted and political bar fight, and a fight in the sense of Maxwell Frost minding his own business and another guy going crazy on him because he's a Democrat and brown. Yes, that is, of course, a part of it. 28-year-old man has been charged with multiple felony accounts for allegedly assaulting Representative Maxwell Frost. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say he was from New York? He's not. He's from Florida. So I'm glad I opened the article. And it happened at the Sundance Film Festival, which you have the right to attend, even if you're a member of Congress. It happened on Friday. So, yeah, that spaces things out a little bit. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, yesterday was when Ilhan Omar was assaulted. So there is it's 24 hours of time in which I heard about the damn thing. I'm a little late in coming to this. So it happened on Friday. That, according to court documents obtained by Axios and a statement from Frost and local law enforcement, the incident comes after a tumultuous year, you could say that, in which fears of violence on Capitol Hill and demands for increased security for lawmakers surged following a series of high-profile political shootings driving the news. You know how they divide their things up. 28-year-old Christian Joel Young allegedly assaulted Frost and an unidentified woman at a bar in Park City where the festival is held annually. According to a probable cause affidavit, Young allegedly told Frost and the other patron, quote, "We are going to deport you and your kind," unquote, before yelling a racial slur. The first one was a racial slur, too. And punching Frost in the face, the affidavit said. Young did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Isn't that interesting? Probably on advice of counsel. Well, so what they're saying, quote, "Last night I was assaulted by a man at a Sundance Film Festival who told me that Trump was going to deport me before he punched me in the face," Frost said Saturday in a post on X. Well, that is descriptive of what we just heard, isn't it? That's probably where it came from. He was heard screaming racist remarks as he drunkenly ran off. The individual was arrested, and I am okay. Thank you to the venue security and Park City PD for assistance on this incident. A Park City PD spokesperson said in a statement to Axios that officers, quote, "determined that Christian Young unlawfully entered a private party after previously being turned away for not having an invitation, and assaulted Frost and the other patron." And it seems, I mean, really, that's kind of most of the story that you need to know. But I'm reading on because I skimmed it off of somebody. I skimmed it yesterday, and I just want to point out that this guy seems to, he appears to know, I don't know whether he knows that Frost himself is there, but he's A, looking for a fight, and B, is very determined to get into this party at this bar. So it's a little weird. The Sundance Film Festival said in a statement to Axios that they strongly condemn the incident, which they said occurred at a non-festival affiliated event. I don't really know how you define such things, but whatever. The safety and security of our festival attendees is always our chief concern, and thoughts are with with Congressman Frost and his continued well-being. The next section here, zoom in. After initially being denied entry to the event, Young allegedly jumped over a fence, but was then, quote, challenged by bar security and jumped back over the fence. It's not a big fence, I guess. Maybe even Bovino could have cleared this fence. Who knows? This, according to the affidavit, security staff told law enforcement they were not sure how Young ultimately gained access, speculating that he jumped the fence again. I'm not positive of that, but that's a pretty good bet given that he's jumped the fence twice already. Not the shark, the fence. But, so again, just to recap, this guy tries to get in the front door, presumably, but doesn't have an invitation. They say, get out of here. He jumps the fence. Security sees it and chases him. He jumps the fence again. A third time, at least, after which he ends up in the party and then assaults Frost. So he's made at least 3 attempts to get in. We don't know how many more times he may have been repelled before succeeding. Young repeatedly tried to engage Frost and the unidentified woman in what they describe in the affidavit as quote, weird conversations, and allegedly reacted violently when rebuffed. In addition to punching Frost, Young allegedly grabbed the woman by her shoulder and pushed her out of the way and against the bar before being subdued by patrons and security, according to the affidavit. Although, how does he run off? Drunkenly or otherwise later on? I don't know. What's next? All right. I suppose we care about that. Young is facing charges of aggravated burglary. It's breaking in, right? You don't have to steal anything in order to burgle the place. Assaulting an elected official and simple assault, according to court documents. County Judge Richard Mrazek ordered Young to be held without bail, writing in his order that there is convincing evidence that he's a flight risk. He flew the first time, right? Fled, and would constitute a substantial danger to the community. Seems plausible enough. Anyway, just wanted to point that out, not to leave Maxwell Frost out of the situation. There's the frightening situation for everyone out there. All right, many other things to bring to your attention and share with you. Can I read this one about Melania? I know I told you that it was like a not all that important piece, but a piece of the puzzle anyway. I can't say that it's not an important piece. Poor Erke Forster, who has written this thing for, where am I? The Daily Beast. I don't want to minimize their work here, but it may not be the most important story, but it's an interesting piece of the puzzle that you can make this theory fly in this particular moment when a normal White House wouldn't be here, but a normal White House would be sort of laser focused on the actual underlying issue and not feed these kinds of weird narratives. But that's the story. Fuming Melania puts Trump aides at risk of ouster, according to Michael Wolff, who does have the flair for the dramatic, we'll see. But that's interesting. Fuming Melania, because fuming Donald is a real thing too, and the fumes, from what I understand, will knock you out flat. But now Melania's fuming on top of it all. What's going on here? I don't know. Furious that Donald Trump's Minneapolis fiasco was upstaging her film. It's a real approach among these types. Melania Trump forced her husband to overhaul his deportation campaign, according to author Michael Wolff. This was supposed to be the Melania week, Wolff told his co-host Joanna Coles on the Inside Trump's Head podcast. Terrible place to be, but he's doing it so you don't have to be. But on Saturday, as the 55-year-old First Lady prepared to host a screening of her documentary, Melania, federal immigration agents killed 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretty. According to Wolff, a truly, and it says here just P-ed, I think you can get away with pissed off these days, can't you? But they don't say it. A truly pissed off Melania bristled as outrage over Trump's deportation operation swallowed the spotlight meant for her $75 million film ahead of its premiere at the Kennedy Center. That's all they say, the Kennedy Center, on Thursday. That ultimately pushed Trump, 79, to shove several of his own aides and cabinet members who led the Minnesota crackdown to the sidelines, Wolf said. And we don't like crackdown as a term, but Michael Wolf isn't a progressive dude. Anyway, you cannot alienate the First Lady to the extent that she makes it an issue with the president, he told Coles. Almost everyone within the White House acknowledges that this is a tripwire. It's just interesting. Like elsewhere, the story is, the Minnesota action, whatever the hell you want to call it, and murders which accompany it. Everybody's seeing what's happening. It's killing us. We cannot allow this. This can't happen. It's a violation of everything America stands for, a total abandonment of constitutional principles, civil rights. It's murder, and plain and simple. All that being said, Melania is mad that the movie premiere was messed up. I mean, wow, that's some Marie Antoinette reaction to the situation in Minneapolis, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, Wolf, who wrote his 2018 bestseller Fire and Fury, and now Fuming, he loves that. It's a very alliterative guy. Based on his behind-the-scenes observations in the White House, remarked that Trump is, quote, not moved by normal political considerations, but he is moved by a pissed-off wife. I'm going to just fill in the blanks here. They keep blanking that out. Is that really one we have to do? What he does not want is a pissed off and uncontrolled Melania, he said. Although, honestly, I've never seen any evidence that he cared what her mood was, or that she had the power to, independently go to the media and say, I'm mad about this for whatever dumb reason. Like, she's not going to go commenting to the press, this is all very, very bad. Donald should never have done this. She's not. So, I don't know. Anyway, but, on the other hand, Trump is, easily manipulated by staff. So why couldn't he also be easily manipulated by his wife? I don't know. I mean, he's had two others that he didn't care much about first. So, But what do I know about the dynamics in the private quarters? By the time the president showed up to Melania's tacky billionaire-studded watch party, he had begun to wobble on his deportation operation. He also was just wobbling generally, like physically. The shooting of Alex Preddy is Saturday morning. Saturday evening is the screening of Melania, the movie. So during this period, the president, Donald Trump, begins to shift in his view of this, Wolf said. I mean, I will say this. It's extremely dumb as a theory, so maybe it's true on account of, the president is also extremely dumb. On Monday, Trump ousted Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino from Minneapolis and moved border czar Tom Homan, a foe of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. I didn't realize that they were foes per se, but okay. So he's sent there in Bovino's place. Noem, who falsely branded Preddy a, quote, domestic terrorist, is reportedly on thin ice and met with the president for 2 hours on Monday evening. Meanwhile, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who was condemned for calling Preddy an assassin, was iced out of the meeting. I did not realize that. Wolf noted that, I guess, I didn't realize it, but I guess this all comes from Michael Wolf, who I prefaced the whole thing by saying, I don't know if he really, knows what's going on. I think I got interviewed by Michael Wolf once on one of the weird olden days, maybe MSNBC shows. And he was like substituting for somebody, and I forget whose show it was, and the regular host wasn't there, but it was him doing the interview. I don't know. I mean, we have zero relationship, and I barely even remember that it happened, but I'm just throwing that out there. If anybody remembers that happened and can prove it to me, I need that for my own life. There's a lot of things going on where people are like, hey, you remember when you did this? No, but you know that from the show. You very often, some of you will write to me and say, I love that joke. And I said, did I tell that joke? I don't remember it. So all things great and small are a loss to me. Anyway, back to what Wolf noted. He noted that Melania, who was born in Slovenia, previously intervened on an immigration issue during Trump's first term. Is that right? When his administration's zero tolerance policy led to family separations at the southern border. Melania, the nation's most famous immigrant, and this is how he gets these interviews, he says things like this, stepped in and said, this was untenable, Wolf said. She expressed herself, and she doesn't usually express herself. And remember, we're talking about the nature, the complicated balance of this marriage, which, again, it's just hard to believe that Trump gives a crap about it. Anyway, Trump ended up abandoning the policy in 2018 after more than 5,000 children were split from their families. And he's doing a bang-up job keeping the families together now. They're doing the same thing again because Miller's back. Wolf is currently suing Melania under special New York state laws to protect reporters and free speech after she threatened to sue him for $1 billion. Despite the First Lady's best efforts to promote Melania, the documentary is failing to fill theater seats across the nation. I didn't even realize it was in theaters. The film, which follows the First Lady during the 20 days leading up to the president's second inauguration last year, what a boring period to cover out of her life. Anyway, opens Friday in an estimated 1,500 to 2,000 theaters nationwide. And apparently they're having a very difficult time selling tickets to the thing. So it's kind of very obviously, in an economic analysis, very obvious bribe to Trump to have paid for this film. It's just not going to work. But social media users have mocked the apparent lack of interest in Melania, that the italicized Melania, the film. Well, there's a great lack of interest in her as well, by posting screenshots of cinema showtimes with scores of unsold seats. The Daily Beast also found multiple examples of Melania screenings in New York and Los Angeles theaters with either sparsely sold or entirely unsold tickets. I did see somebody point out, I'm surprised that they just haven't had, forced the Republican National Committee or a super PAC somewhere to buy all the seats like they would if she was releasing a book. The National Research Group estimates that Melania, for which Jeff Bezos' Amazon MGM Studios, that's the answer, shelled out $75 million, will pull in just $5 million during its opening weekend, which is apparently dismal for movie releases. But I guess also just shows the rarefied air in which these weirdos operate all the time. Like a total flop will make $5 million over the weekend. Like, could I make $1 million over a year, 10 years? No, but $5 million for a failure over the weekend. I know that it ends up being a net loss, but not to Melania. She don't care. The Trumps got their money. And Bezos doesn't care because it's only $75 million. And he isn't paying it out of his pocket, and it comes out of other people. And people will get fired from the Washington Post instead to pay for that loss. When reached for comment, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung, there he is again, provided the Daily Beast with a recycled statement. Michael Wolff is a long... I must have seen this before, and I probably had the same reaction to it. There's some more dashes in this thing. I'll use my censoring horn along with. What else have I got? Is anything else in soundboard for this? I got the cuckoo. I need some other. I've got the bleep. We'll use the old-fashioned bleep here. Stephen Chung's recycled statements. This has been used before, and it fits. It works again. Michael Wolff is a lying sack of and has been proven to be a fraud. He routinely fabricates stories originating from his sick and warped imagination, only possible because he has a severe and debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome that has rotted his peanut-sized brain. Well, you earned your paycheck there, Stephen. That was a good one, which is to say, it was horrific. Anyway, I found that very interesting. I don't know why they're not just simply buying the theater seats, because why suffer the embarrassment? And if you're already in for $75 billion or million, why don't you get a Republican super PAC to buy the seats and give the tickets out for free to local Republicans? I'm not sure why that isn't happening. Maybe it's in the works. All right. I think I have one or two other things that might actually bear on this, but wow, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like an awfully long read. But over at the New Republic, they too are covering this story, which I really shouldn't give any more time to. I'll just tell you that Malcolm Ferguson has written the story at the New Republic. Melania documentary flops as crew reveals behind the scenes chaos. And that's always interesting. Maybe I'll return to it, but it wouldn't be wise, I don't think, to do too much on this story now. I just want to put this up because this story reveals an interesting little tidbit. Where is this one? Well, one, it should be pointed out that the director of the film, Brett Ratner, about whom I know nothing except that in the last couple of days everybody has said, oh, of course they got a notorious Hollywood sex pest to direct the film. How so? I don't remember the story myself offhand. I don't follow that kind of stuff, but now I'm going to know. He made headlines, Ratner did, after 6 women accused him of sexual assault and harassment during the Me Too movement, and I guess now we can say moment, in 2017. And Ratner was perhaps the most loathed person on set. And my goodness, think about the number of people and the very loathed people who are probably on this set. There's a detailed recounting of those allegations, which, well, I don't know. You might want to read the article yourself to hear all of that. And by the way, also apparently more recently, Ratner shows up pictured shirtless in the Epstein files. That's not the place you want to be. Anyway, that's not even the biggest part of this. What's really interesting is that apparently 2/3 of the staff working on the film asked specifically to be excluded from the credits at the end of the film. Don't put on this film that I was the best boy or whatever it was. And especially in the Epstein pedophilia context, we don't want that. But I don't know who was, I guess editors and who knows what else from top to bottom are saying, don't put my name on this film. And I think that's an interesting tidbit to add to the story. Although now it looks like this is one of those pages that scrolls on and on and on to other stories. And that's why it was telling me it's going to be 15, 20 minutes to read through the story. It really could have been done in just a few. Anyway, point being, I wanted to get around to the 2/3 story, and now I don't even see it. Dang, I put this story aside specifically to serve as evidence of that. So if that's not the case, I'll make a note to myself, but you've probably seen it on social media out there as well. And by the way, remember that 2/3 is enough to stop a filibuster or even change the rules, even in Hollywood. So I found that pretty interesting. We ought to go back to maybe I don't need to add any more to it. I think Greg covered it pretty well. It's certainly making the rounds in D.C. and elsewhere, and now in the traditional media, that Kristi Noem is blabbing to the press about having been handed the talking points and directed by Stephen Miller to go out there and issue that blatant lie about Alex Preddy that has really upset everyone and reversed the president's political fortunes, I guess. Is this the... I got to open this up and see whether this is the... Oh, no, that's not the one. And yet that's very important, so I'll have to hold on to that. But Aaron Rupar has a video... His video surveillance of what's going on CNN, but he's just going with not a video, but a screen cap on this one. And it is just Kristi Noem, her quote, I guess, to Axios. And the quote is, "Everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen," the guy who's not president and not vice president or not anything official at all. It's quite odd. And I think Axios points out, normally the deputy White House chief of staff doesn't have the authority to direct anything at the cabinet level. So anyway, quite a wild situation here. We'll have to wait and see how that one shakes out. All right, other things that are of importance. Why not try and shoehorn this one in on our way into the break? Very often of some interest because of the religious reporting bent. Very often interesting to Greg. But J.D. Vance, I'm told by the HuffPost, J.D. Vance draws damning moral rebuke, not from the couch community, but from a Catholic newspaper for choosing, as they put it, MAGA over Jesus. Well, that seems to be really out of keeping with the Catholic and pretty much all Christian religion. The vice president's cafeteria Catholicism must continue to be repudiated by people of faith, the opinion piece read. Lee Moran wrote this for HuffPost, but I'm on my way out the door here, so we'll just give you a brief sampling of it. Vice President J.D. Vance accused of choosing MAGA over Jesus in a damning opinion piece in the National Catholic Reporter this week. In the piece, Catholic newspaper's digital editor John Grosso rebuked Vance's inflammatory and politicizing response to the killing of Alex Pretty by a Border Patrol agent in Minneapolis over the weekend. Vance, said Grosso, had the opportunity to call for peace and unity, to lower the temperature of the situation and express empathy with those suffering and mourning, and could have chosen to share the gospel message of healing and human dignity, but nope. Hi, everybody. It's me, David, still your host for the Kagro in the Morning Show after all these years. Thank you for all your continuing support for the show. And if you're listening regularly and still thinking about getting on board as a supporter, well, the time is now. Patreon.com is the easiest way to make recurring subscription-style payments every month, all year round, to keep us going. patreon.com/KagroX brings you to our page where you can sign up with your monthly support. And hey, have you seen our clever new subscription tiers? It's easier than ever to sign up for, say, one crisp dollar bill for every information-packed 2-hour show. If you're the plan ahead type, there's even a year-long subscription program that saves you 15% on the cover price. Or it would if there was a cover price, or even a cover, for that matter. patreon.com/KAGROX. Thanks again for all your support. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. And yes, we had to kind of cut things short a little bit on our way out the door for that third break. But remember, we were in the story about in HuffPost about covering the National Catholic Reporter's opinion piece from their let's see, how do they term him? John Grosso, the newspaper's digital editor, pointing out that Vance had the opportunity in the wake of the Pretty shooting to call for peace and unity, to lower the temperature of the situation and express empathy with those suffering and mourning. He could have chosen to share the gospel message of healing and human dignity, but we just said nope. But instead he chose to offer the MAGA message of division and blame. That seems so very unlike the way the church might approach such a situation. The comments of Vance, a Catholic convert, are a moral stain on our collective witness of Catholicism, said Grosso, but they are no longer surprising, he argued. Given its scandal, the vice president's cafeteria Catholicism must continue to be repudiated by people of faith. And in fact, the new bishops, one of the new archbishops under the new pope, the American pope, has been, I think, rather outspoken in saying, yeah, this approach that they're taking to the invasion of these cities, Minneapolis in particular, the latest example, they're just entirely out of keeping with, the teachings of the faith. So that's coming up quite a lot. Grosso published a similar blistering commentary about Vance following the vice president's justification of the fatal shooting of Renee Good, also at the hands of a federal agent in Minneapolis earlier this month. So it's starting to piss him off, I guess. As a Catholic, Vance knows better than to peddle this brand of gaslighting and agitation. I mean, I guess that's supposed. Grasso wrote in that piece, in which he also condemned Vance's twisted and wrong-headed view of Christianity and suggested his Catholicism seems to be little more than a political prop, oh no, not J.D. Vance, a tool only for his career ambitions and desire for power. Well, not great. Let's see, is that the end of the article? I think so. Let me jump back out here and see whether the new thing... Oh, yes, that reminded me, I think, of a headline I saw the other day. And, all right, on an editorial piece from the Chicago Tribune, noting the news story, which we have not yet noted on the air, that the Vances are expecting. And we don't hear, I mean, they're expecting to be ousted from office along with the Trumps and dispatched of in the manner of the Ceausescus. No, they're not expecting that. Well, they may be expecting that, but that's not what we mean when we say they're expecting. And... well, golly, we don't advocate such violence here on this show. Talk to me after. But anyway, no, what they're talking about here is they're expecting, I guess, their fourth child. It is revealed, I guess, they've defied God's plan and used ultrasound to find out that their fourth child will be a son, expected in July. I can't believe that he is intervening in God's plan this way. Anyway, the editorial is a baby at one observatory circle, that's where they live, free on the government, in government housing. Yes, he's a moocher. The vice presidential residence. Well, look, basically they say, look, Usha Vance and her husband, Vice President J.D. Vance, announced Tuesday that they're expecting their fourth child, a son, in July. We're very happy to share some exciting news. Our family is growing, the second lady wrote on X. And then there was this thing. This is how it got circulated on social media under the headline of, "You don't need to share the Vances' political views to be happy for them." And that's true. But I'm here to tell you that you also, no matter what you share with them, don't have to be happy for them either. You can just simply note, okay, interesting. Just because they're having a baby and normally for normal people, that's something you celebrate. It's not absolutely necessary that you celebrate this. You don't want to condemn it. You don't want to use it as an excuse to attack them, but you're absolved in case you fell into the trap that the Chicago Tribune was laying for you. It's normal, routine, run-of-the-mill stuff. You don't need to have any kind of reaction to that news. I just thought that was interesting that they were trying to somehow backhandedly shame you into saying, well, I'm happy for you, or the baby, or whatever. You don't have to do anything. Don't harm them, and that's enough. Okay. Just want to let you know what the extent of your obligation is here. All right, let's see. Having mentioned the trouncing that the nominal Republican candidate got in the recent special election in the Minneapolis area, I just thought I would note I happened to see somebody make this very interesting point. Has it been buried somewhere along the line? And many, many reactions to the story. What was going on here? I feel like I know this post was here somewhere, but now I don't see it. There we go. A fun fact that's added to the news. Remember, we're talking about Democrats just won a special election in St. Paul by 91%. That's basically impossible. And also a 20% improvement over Harris's showing in the seat. It also shows that deploying ICE as a voter suppression tactic probably only works against their own voters. A very interesting point being made here by, is it Aaron Kleinman, who follows these things quite closely, of course. And someone comments along the way, this being St. Paul. Oh, and they ask, what is this thing, by the way? What were we talking about? And it's a state Senate seat. Is that right? And wow. Anyway, but the fun fact brought up by, who are we looking at here? Well, we don't get much information in the bio, but Jecech, Chech, I don't know. I'm sure it's short as a nickname, but that's who's pointing out. Fun fact, the church that was protested because the ICE guy is a pastor, that's in this district. So very interesting, and an interesting location for the guy to be working as a pastor as well. But there you go. So I think there's a widespread local support, perhaps, for the position adopted anyway by the protesters there. They might find, and that may be why the Trump administration has attempted to seek an arrest warrant from a magistrate and not go the route of seeking an indictment from a grand jury there. I mean, what kind of grand jury pool have you got if the local state Senate district just went by 91 points for the Democrats as in backlash to all of this? So, yeah, they may never get their prize in that one. But at any rate, we move on. There's other things I had in store for you. Oh, yes, this is an interesting story. Again, part of my fascination with the unseen logistics and unseen behind the scenes, I don't know what it was, messaging pathways that I hadn't thought of. And I don't know whether there's whether this is something. Maybe those, if anybody's a pilot, anybody specifically an airline pilot, might have some insight on what sort of ethical and professional obligations they're seeking to poke at here. This is a protest sign pasted up on, or taped up on the chain link fence outside of, I guess, maybe the Minneapolis airport. I'm not certain where this is placed, but anyway, it's a sign that I guess is using some jargon, some inside language that pilots and I guess flight staff will recognize in protest of these deportation flights that ICE is running using charter airline flights. It says this: chained packs. That's what I will explain after. Chained packs, PAX, are not safe. O2/evac. Now that sounds like some lingo for you, but what's going on here? It's explained, although I'm sure it's explained in this podcast as well. It says here, and the first person to have posted this thing on Blue Sky, what's this sign all about? Find out on Wednesday's IceCast, which would be happening today at some point. But in case you can't wait, Mueller, she wrote, the famous social media presence, writes, this is new. ICE flight trackers warn pilots with this sign that their chained passengers, that's the chained packs, passengers, PAX, chained passengers can't reach their oxygen masks should something go wrong with the flight or evacuate from the plane. And that presumably flight crews and pilots would have some moral, ethical, maybe contractual obligations to bring this up with the bosses. Like, you want me to keep flying these flights, I want to register my complaint, say, maybe through the pilots union. You're asking me to fly a plane full of people that I know are unsafe in the manner that we're taking them. If you keep them shackled and there's a loss of cabin pressure, who's going to put the oxygen masks on these people? They can't put their own oxygen mask on because they're shackled. And if there's any kind of a problem on the plane, they can't evacuate because they're shackled and sometimes then chained to the seat as well. This is supremely unsafe. This is just not the way to be evacuating or to be deporting people. I mean, well, I'm not sure what other way there could be. Oh, I know, without chains, there could be that. But anyway, this is an interesting point. They ought to be taking it up with their unions. I'm not going to fly this flight. however I feel about immigration, although I'm sure that there's certainly plenty of right-wing pilots out there who will do the job, and I'm sure that's the threat. Well, if you don't do it, we'll find someone who will, and maybe they can. But it would be interesting to see what's the will you have to do it as a scab if the Airline Pilots Association says, oh yeah, by the way, no, we shouldn't be doing this, and anybody who does it is going to lose their membership in the union. We can't represent you if you're going to fly chained passengers who can't tend to their own safety in case of emergency. It's an excellent point and something that would escape the notice of most of us, I guess, in the laity. But, well, a point well made. All right, let's see. What other things have we got here? Oh, somebody says, maybe the crudest thing Trump has said in a while. We'll see what that is. So let's see. Jake LaHutte pointing this out. This has got to be up there in the most crass and worst things Trump has ever said. What could it possibly be? Well, Rachel Scott is. Do I know Rachel Scott? I mean, she's a check-marked personage on Twitter, but I'm terrible with names. But Rachel Scott, I guess, has had the conversation here. Who is Rachel Scott? An American journalist, obviously, but where? ABC News. Okay, ABC News is Rachel Scott. Just spoke to President Trump. I asked him, this is all posted on X, I asked him if he had seen the video of Representative Omar being attacked and sprayed by a substance. What would Donald Trump have to say about that? Good. I hope it killed her. Right? Basically, no, I don't think about her. Now, of course, he had just been at a rally in which he was complaining bitterly about her for 5 minutes. But no, never mind all that. I don't think about her. I think she's a fraud. I really don't think about that. She probably had herself sprayed, knowing her, the president said. I asked again if he had seen the video. I haven't seen it. No. I hope I don't have to bother. Sure, whatever. But I mean, holy mackerel. She probably had herself sprayed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as every Republican accusation is a confession, I hesitate to bring this up, but I guess he's finally convinced himself the time is right. I can now confess to what? The Butler shooting being staged in some way? It's awfully hard to come to that conclusion. There is a person dead. There's two people dead in all of this. It seems like an awfully steep price for a staged blood packet I got shot thing to do. So it's still difficult to believe. But that's the maxim. Every Republican accusation is a confession. It may have been something else that he staged. I don't know. But he does have a weirdly well-repaired ear. And at any rate, so there you go. Every Republican accusation being a confession, that's what comes to mind. She probably had herself sprayed, knowing her. Well, that's not going to bring the nation together, sir. But, of course, he's never concerned with that. All right. Just wanted to get that on the record. Yes, I'll read you the Reuters report about the situation at the Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis and fill in the blanks about that and how it relates to what's going on or is alleged to be going on with respect to the Olympics. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent tried to get into Ecuador's consulate in Minneapolis on Tuesday, but was prevented from entering the premises by consulate staffers. I've seen the video of that. Not a violent confrontation, but a tense one. That, according to the country's foreign ministry, the attempted entry prompted the foreign ministry to send a note of protest to the U.S. Embassy in Quito, the Ecuadorian capital, demanding such incidents not be repeated, the ministry said in a statement. The statement carried a headline referring to the incident as an attempted incursion into the Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis by ICE agents. And it was one. It said the consulate staff members' actions to prevent ICE entry ensured the protection of the Ecuadorian nationals who were in the building at the time. The incident occurred during a mass deportation operation being conducted by some 3,000 heavily armed agents of ICE and the U.S. Border Patrol deployed to Minnesota under the orders of President Donald Trump several weeks ago. Neither the State Department nor the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE and the Border Patrol, immediately responded to requests from Reuters for comment. Ecuador's foreign ministry provided few other details, but eyewitnesses working in retail shops near the consulate said they saw immigration agents try to enter the building. I saw the officers going after two people in the street, and those two people went into the consulate, and the officers tried to go in after them, said one woman who asked not to be named, citing a fear of retribution by the federal government, of course. The agents weren't able to enter the consulate, from what I could see, she said. Under an international treaty, a country's embassies, consular offices, and other diplomatic compounds are regarded as sovereign territory of that nation, protected under diplomatic immunity from unauthorized entry by agents of other governments. Dubbed Operation Metro Surge, you know the story of the occupation of Minneapolis. I think we can probably skip that part. As political pressure for de-escalation of tensions mounted, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, met on Tuesday with the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota, seeking to defuse the crisis. It probably couldn't have helped very much that they tried to kick their way into the Ecuadorian consulate either. So I guess, like I said, that really needs to be read in alongside the very weird story that ICE, I guess, is said to be, I don't know whether they're seeking or whether they are being, I don't know, maybe they're just being teased about this. But the New York Times reports this. Let's open it up. Outcry in Italy as U.S. says ICE agents will join Olympics delegation. Yeah, under what authority? I have no idea. The Italian government has said it has requested clarification from American diplomats after DHS said that ICE agents would help secure the U.S. Olympic delegation next week in northern Italy. Why them? I don't know. I think it may just, I don't know whether they really had any intent of doing this. Maybe they just wanted to shock and dismay Europe in advance of the events. Motoko Rich is the reporter here, reporting from Rome, that ICE will accompany, I don't know that it will, the U.S. delegation to the Winter Olympics in Italy next month. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed on Tuesday, stoking a backlash among Italians angered by the conduct of ICE agents in Minneapolis. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents will join a security team from the State Department at the Olympics, quote, to vet and mitigate risks from transnational criminal organizations, DHS said in a statement attributed to Tricia McLaughlin, the worst liar ever, the department's Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs. All security operations remain under Italian authority, the statement said, adding that ICE, quote, does not conduct immigration enforcement operations in foreign countries, and it shouldn't. It has no jurisdiction for doing so. But there's any number of reasons why they shouldn't be involved, but why? Are they just basically like, well, they're the roughest, toughest guys, and they'll shoot you in the face, no questions asked, so watch out, don't get near our Olympic delegation? Or is it just trolling? I really don't know. In a statement Tuesday, the State Department said that, as in previous Olympic events, multiple federal agencies are supporting the Diplomatic Security Service, including Homeland Security Investigations, ICE's investigative component. I guess that describes the relationship between HSI and ICE, but I can't, well, it may not be the case that they can't convince me that there's no role for these guys, but I mean, it ought not to involve dressing up and being armed and roaming Italian streets, right? Despite the caveats by U.S. officials, news of the agency's involvement has spurred outcry in Italy, particularly after the killing by ICE and Border Patrol agents of 2 American citizens during recent protests in Minneapolis. Like, it is a sort of an astonishing thing. Well, we're going to send them to Milan to protect Americans, the American delegation. It's weird because their record so far has been killing Americans, and it seems kind of odd. The Italian government said on Tuesday that it was seeking clarification from American diplomats after reports emerged over the weekend that ICE would attend the games in Italy. Antonio Tajani, Italy's foreign minister, told reporters that ICE agents would not be allowed to deploy on Italian streets. You would imagine at a minimum, right? He added that public order during the Olympics would be done only by the Italian national and local police, but stopped short of saying that U.S. agents would be limited to operational rooms. the Italian government's intervention, followed by growing outrage from Italian politicians over the agency's presence at the games. Giuseppe Sala, mayor of Milan, said in a telephone interview that the Italian government should say no to Trump. Mr. Sala added, bringing to Milan a militia which distinguished itself, this is not my opinion, with criminal acts, which kills, which enters the homes of American citizens without authorization. I do not think that is a good idea. Ellie Schlein, leader of the country's center-left Democratic Party, said in an interview that she was concerned about the arrival in Italy of an armed militia that is not respecting the law on American soil. And these guys know about mafioso militia, by the way. She added, and so there is the concern that they would not respect them on Italian soil either. After the first reports on the subject emerged over the weekend, Matteo Piantedosi, I think I got that right, Italy's interior minister, told reporters on Monday that the situation was a controversy over nothing, adding that the U.S. government had not yet confirmed that ICE officers would join the American delegation. But I specify, whatever the communications will be, ICE as such will never operate in Italy, Mr. Piantedosi said. In separate remarks over the weekend, Mr. Piantedosi said that foreign delegations had the right to choose who staffed their security teams and that I don't see what the problem is. He added that it was absolutely forbidden for foreign officers, to carry out police or similar activities on our soil, especially if they are related to combating immigration. Anyone who, while engaging in institutional politics, ignores these basic rules and claims otherwise is either incompetent or acting in bad faith. Mr. Piantedosi's weekend comments generated a furor. Writing in La Stampa, an Italian newspaper, journalist Francesco Malfitano. All right. Well, anyway, he described ICE as an institution that for many, not only across the Atlantic, is synonymous with fear. And I guess, that's why I think that the U.S. authorities may be trying to troll everybody else. They just want to instill that fear. And they think that people will, look out. We better not mess with the Americans. They're going to send the crazy punks over here. Anyway, U.S. law enforcement had a more limited role in the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. Homeland Security Investigations, a branch of ICE, collaborated with French law enforcement to share best practices ahead of the games. Except I don't think that there are any best practices HSI has in mind anymore. That was during the Biden administration when they did something different. On Tuesday afternoon, Mr. Piantedosi met with U.S. Ambassador to Italy, Tilman J. Fertitta, to discuss the presence of ICE agents at the games. In a statement, Mr. Piantedosi said the Italian authorities would coordinate with the U.S. agents for the protection of American athletes and delegations in the coming weeks, and reiterated that ICE agents will have no external public order function. But that just calls into question, what in the world are they sending them there for at all? HSI? Maybe. They probably could have tamped down on the furor by using that alphabet soup designation rather than ICE to describe this. But there you go. All right, let's see. Other things. I guess I'll spend the minute or two we have left here to update you on the weird loot box situation. Remember the weirdo vending machine that was in the Pentagon food court? And maybe you didn't even know they had a food court there. Task and Purpose is reporting that the Pentagon has at least, quote, temporarily removed the loot box vending machine from the food court. They really do have to deal with the situation that was raised the other day when people asked, does this mean you're going to regularly be bringing sealed, uninspected mystery boxes into the Pentagon? And of course, maybe your first worry was that they were packed with explosives, but even better, or more realistically, perhaps, what if they're just full of listening devices? You never know what you're going to hear in the Pentagon food court, but if somebody takes one of these prizes home and puts it in their office, hey, you might hit the jackpot. The Pentagon is conducting an additional review, they say, of the Lucky Box machine a month after it was installed. Well, maybe the time would have been the month before it was installed. That's what they're calling it, Lucky Box machine. That's the name on the machine itself. The Department of Defense has removed a loot box vending machine from the Pentagon just after a month, after just a month of operations. A department spokesperson told Task and Purpose on Friday that the Lucky Box vending machine was temporarily moved out of the food hall it has been in since late December. The machine, where customers would pay money for an unknown item, which could be relatively cheap sports memorabilia or a rare Holy Grail collector's item worth tens of thousands of dollars, was located inside the Pentagon's main food hall, Task and Purpose learned, where military personnel and civilian employees could use it. At least it was. The Lucky Box has been temporarily moved, pending additional review. Sue Gao, Gough, a department spokesperson, confirmed to Task and Purpose it's unclear what the review is about, although we have some ideas. Images of the vending machine first hit military-focused social media pages earlier this month. Lucky Box Vending first announced the arrival of the vending machine at the Pentagon on December 23rd, just in time for Christmas, posting to social media about the new location. As 404 Media reported, the company's posts about its Pentagon location were taken down. Lucky Box did not respond to emails from Task and Purpose asking about the status of the vending machine, a place built on legacy, leadership, and history, now experiencing the thrill of Lucky Box firsthand. What else are you going to say, I guess, if you're the company? That's what they wrote in the now deleted post to Threads. This is a milestone moment for Lucky Box, and we're excited for this opportunity. The Pentagon location was the only one in the immediate area around Washington, D.C., although there are 3 farther out in Virginia and Maryland. And if you tell me one of them's in CIA headquarters, I just quit at this point. The machines are similar to the gacha machines in Japan, where customers get a small capsule containing unknown items. Perfect for the Pentagon. Essentially, it's a real-life version of the loot boxes found in video games. Those virtual versions where users would spend real money for unknown digital rewards took off in gaming, but earned major backlash and an FTC investigation. Lucky Box Vending operates dozens of these, where each individual play costs around $100. Who is buying this stuff? According to the company, more than a dozen are located in Las Vegas. Sure, it's a gambling machine. And its social media posts show several in casinos. And that's where maybe they belong, if they belong anywhere. Although, quite honestly, I'd be worried about security at the casinos as well. All right, well, the last alarm has not gone off for some strange reason. And I don't know why that is, but it's time for us to make our exit at this point. It's long since time to get out of here. I was wondering why this was going on for so long. I must have just plain old missed an alarm on that one. So, you podcaster folks will hear it. I don't know whether Justice is tolerating our going on and on like this on Netroots Radio's live stream. But if so, we'll just apologize to him and preview what you're supposed to be already hearing on the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Gee whiz. All right. Well, here's what he's got on tap for you. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, this is the Tuesday preview. Boy, everything's going crazy. So, all right. For whatever reason, Justice, I'm sure, is standing by. Again, apologies for droning on as we did. And golly, well, like I said, you podcast folks aren't going to mind one way or the other. All right, now I'm in the awkward position of having to talk over another minute of this stuff before we can actually get out of here. All right. Oh, you know what? I'll mention this, that Scott sent our way. Thank you very much, Scott, for doing so. Okay. Trump apparently speaking to the press about the raid on Venezuela, which resulted in seizing their president and taking him back here as prisoner, that it all went so well and no losses on the American side because we had a secret weapon at our disposal, something he's calling the discombobulator. I bet that's not the actual word for it. It may have gone off in the White House during a cleaning at some point. We never know.
You have been listening to Kagro in the Morning with David Waldman.
Anyway, I'll send that article your way and maybe we'll talk about it. It seems like a good, fun topic for later in the week. The discombobulator. Maybe we can figure out what it's actually named. Apologies again to all who I may have disrupted by going on for so long. Don't know why that alarm didn't go off. I blame Kristi Noem. That seems to be in vogue. See you tomorrow.